Hello, everyone. My name is Ronan. That is Wadsworth, and welcome to Now Z Here. 7 months? Is it that time, really? 7 months. 7 months on testosterone. I mentioned having a time flies feeling last month in my 6 month video, and that has not stopped. Although there may be a factor there of the fact that I've been running around so many weekends, pulling a lot of double shift weekends where I'm making 2 videos at once, and then spending a weekend off at Gen Con or at my brother's wedding. So yeah, 7 months. Here we are, September. Because last month I recorded my update on the actual day that I had my 6 month checkup appointment, I hadn't had the blood work results sent back to me yet. So I can report on those now. We've wound up lowering my dose because when the blood work came back, the numbers were not dangerously high, but higher than what we are aiming for, given that I'm trying to do what I can to maintain a more androgynous appearance rather than a fully masculinized appearance. When you're trying to do that, you're aiming for a testosterone level of 300 to 500. My testosterone level was at 900, which again is not a dangerous level of testosterone. It's about in the it's within the adult male range, which is anywhere from 300 to 1,000. But still, it's not what we're aiming for, and so we've cut my dose in half. And we're going to see how that works. Vocal changes continue progressing, as you can hear. On Friday night, on the 9th, I played a gig. I played a gig with, an acoustic gig with half of my band, Time Crash. It was me and the bassist, except since it was just me and the bassist, we were both playing guitars. Anyway, it was also the first gig since my voice has taken a significant shift downward. At our last concert, we had just, tuned our guitars down, I think, a half step in order to accommodate the changes that had already happened. This time we needed more than that. There were some full-on key changes. Now, what I've discovered since, keeping up my practice and really getting deep into rehearsal and rehearsing these songs, my range is essentially the same. It was approximately an octave and a half before I started T. It's approximately an octave and a half now. And that's my, full chest voice range, my belting range. But, it's gone from here to down here. Head voice a little questionable. If I'm good and warmed up and I get the sound right in that sort of back of the nose space, I can hit head voice notes without much of a problem. Or I try to do that and my voice cracks. I've also found that, and this is something that I heard in the research that I did way before I started T, from a very excellent article about trans male singers. I found that my voice does get fatigued more easily, and so I have to be even more conscious than I ever was before about really supporting with my breath and being aware of the feeling of my voice. So staying aware of it, keeping healthy, practicing kindness and patience with myself, and just maintaining that awareness as much as I possibly can. And now we get to the portion of the video where I warn that I'm about to talk about body issues, appearance issues and weight thoughts, and also a little bit more, once again, about menstruation. So if any of that triggers you, or even just makes you go, ugh, now's the time to close out of the video, and there are no hard feelings. I mentioned pretty way back that I was struggling with a little bit of insecurity about the effect that the tea was having on my weight. And not particularly, by weight, I don't particularly mean the number on the scale. I think I've reached a place in my own mind and my own mentality that I can separate the, number on the scale from how I feel versus how I look versus, society's perceptions of weight and body image. But the truth is, I used to have a fairly flat stomach, and I don't anymore. And that's not something that specifically came about because of the tea. It started coming about because I took an office job and was suddenly very sedentary in my everyday life, and I wasn't really working out. And now I am working out. I run 4 times a week, sometimes do yoga, sometimes do rock climbing. I haven't gone rock climbing in too long. But since a little bit of weight gain is a common side effect of starting testosterone, it's still there. And it's pretty much stabilized as far as I can tell. There was a little bit of semi-rapid weight gain within the first 3 months, I would say, and then it sort of plateaued. And the reason I'm bringing this up again this month is because I'm going to be participating in a fashion show as part of a fundraiser for this show I'm working on, The Living Canvas. And the designer who's going to be designing the outfit I'm going to wear needed my measurements. So, got out the old tape measure, and I discovered that I'd essentially gained 2 inches everywhere, chest, waist, hips. And on the one hand, that brought a little bit of distress because we have these built-in prejudices against gaining weight in any form, in any circumstance. Maybe built-in isn't really the term to use, more like learned prejudices. But at the same time, it almost made me feel better because it made me feel like what's been happening to my body has at least been consistent over my entire body. I've been so focused on my midsection because that's, I guess you could say, a point of focus for me. Did I just say I've been focused on it because it's a point of focus?
I've been so focused on my midsection point of focus.
I think I did. But when it comes to our bodies and our own individual insecurities that we have about them, everybody has that feature or that group of features that we are fixated on. And yeah, I used to have a relatively flat stomach. I also used to be anemic. Not dangerously anemic, but borderline underweight. And the first time I ever gave blood, my blood pressure dropped, plummeted. So what does that say about the state of my health in the past? And yes, period things. Things I did not expect to be still talking about 7 months into testosterone. But that I have discovered is a thing. There's a bubble of silence around trans men and, non-binary individuals on testosterone. There's a bubble of silence around the fact that we can still get periods, that the cycle still can happen. It's not a 100% guarantee that you start testosterone and menstruation stops. I did not know this. And so I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people out there who do not know this. And I talked about a little bit in my last video. I don't think I talked specifically about the menstruation issue, but I talked about how I was speaking with my doctor about the possibilities of future things and how I felt it was making me more dysphoric than I am on a normal basis. And part of that came from our discussion of menstruation and how it can be a possibility. And then he started going into all of these things about how if having a period was a dysphoric experience for me, we have all of these options of other medications. Well, there's, the non-hormonal birth control, and there's all of these things. And that is what I was able to pinpoint later on. That discussion is what was making me feel those dysphoric feelings. Because having a cycle, experiencing menstruation as an experience doesn't cause me to feel dysphoric. It's irritating, and I'm not a big fan of the emotional intensity that my PMS has taken on since I started T. And yeah, there's a little bit of mental preparation that goes into carrying a pad or a tampon into a men's room every time I have to. But having my body go through that experience is not what causes me to feel dysphoric. For me, it was a suggestion that this was a problem to be solved, which it is for some people, not for me. And so the main reason that conversation made me feel so uncomfortable is because I was being presented with all of these options, all these medical solutions to an issue that I didn't see as an issue. So we'll see what comes of that in the future, but I mean, I have no plans to interfere with that process. Whew. Anyway, that has been my 7-month tea update. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it enlightening. Please like it if you did. Please subscribe to see what's coming up next. And do check out my Patreon to support this and other projects that I'm involved in. I'm Ronan. That's Wadsworth. And this has been Now Z here. Always be changing.